Everyone, it is Pam here with Tattered Paper and Lace, and I welcome you back to my channel. We are once again, as always, when Mondays roll around, we're doing Margarete Monday. So that is today, and we are on week 35. I have all the prompts, as I usually try to have and try to do all the prompts. But again, always under interpretation. I think I've got them all pretty well, like they should be. So let's go over the prompts. We have an old receipt or a ledger. I had a receipt, but I actually liked the ledger better. This is from like a 1956 ledger. An animal with hooves. I have this antelope, or a pronghorn, they called it in the book. Sometimes called an antelope, they said, right there. A piece of wrapping paper. Well, I have a flower cut from a craft piece of wrapping paper. So that is my piece of wrapping paper. An image of a candle or a lantern. Well, I couldn't find the kind of lantern I really wanted, which was like one you would take camping. I couldn't find one, and I wasn't going to spend any more time doing that. But I did run across this, and I decided to use it, and it is a Chinese lantern. You know, like what you see hanging outside, crisscross the streets. So that's what I'm going to use. And then something you might leave behind. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then italicized text, and I'm going to use this. A trail laid out in front was so close. Now, we're only going to use part of that. So that's why it's folded. But this is in italics. And I was reading a book on my iPad, and it had some dream sequences in it, and they were all in italics. So I printed them out, and so the font is bigger than it might normally be, which is okay. But I printed that out because I just came across that as I was reading. I found something else that had italicized words in it, but it was so small you couldn't even tell what it was. So I didn't figure that was as good. So we are going to, first, I did not put my background down as I usually do. So I'm going to go ahead, and this was a local, this is from a local store, because that's the Atlanta Gas Light Company and Pine Mountain Children's Home. Both of those, of course, Atlanta is the capital of Georgia, and Pine Mountain is where Callaway Gardens is, and which is a well-known gardens here in Georgia. So I thought that was kind of neat that it had some local places. I always like to, you know, make it seem real. And that is how that's going to go. In case you wonder what I like to do, my OCD brain won't let me put this on here not in line with the words. I don't know why, just won't let me. So I'm always checking to see. It bothers me if it's not, even though you can't see those words when they're all covered up, it doesn't really matter. It still bothers me. I think that's kind of funny. Okay, so that is that. Now, I did not get the inside of the antelope or pronghorn. I did not get the inside of his legs cut out. Whoops, so we're going to do that online. I don't normally, because, you know, seems to take a while, but this is pretty simple lines. I'm going to tear the grass part because I want it to have, you know, the more raggedy sort of edge on it. So I'm just gonna tear this a little bit here. There we go. This is pretty tough paper here. And that's not, it didn't tear like I wanted it to. So I also will use my decal scissors, decal design, sometimes on things like this that I want to have an uneven cut. So since that didn't tear like I wanted to, I'm going to cut it just like that. And that makes it have an uneven line there. So let me tell you what happened to me Sunday. Not this Sunday, last Sunday. I think it was last Sunday or the Sunday before. Anyway, it was on a Sunday. And we had gone out to eat with a friend, and we were coming back, and I came into the garage, parked, and getting out of the car, my husband was putting something away in the garage, and I went on in, was going on in the door to the kitchen, and I got stung by a red wasp. I'm going to go ahead and cut this just like this, because that was easier. And tear, apparently. Anyway, I got stung. It hurt so bad. I got stung right here on my finger because there was a wasp on the door handle, which I did not see when I reached for the door. Our garage is kind of, if the light's not on, it's kind of dark, even in the daylight. There's 2 windows in there, but they're not, they have blinds on them, so they're not very bright. And I have not been stung. Well, July 4th weekend, I also was stung by what I think was a yellow jacket on my foot, went into my sandal as I was walking across some grassland. And so that was like in a 2-week period time, or 3 weeks, I got stung twice. I have not been stung by a bee of any sort since I was a little kid. I don't remember any time being stung except when I was in the 1st grade. I may have gotten stung some of the time, but the first grade sting, I was in school eating lunch in the lunchroom, and a bee or something, I felt something in my hair, so I reached up to get, to brush whatever it was away, and it was a bee, and it stung me. So that was the first time I remember being stung by a bee. And I don't remember, or a wasp. I don't remember being stung by a bee or a wasp at any other time. But that could have just been because it was traumatic. But that red wasp sting, yellow jacket sting, I think I got him out before he actually got too much of his sting in me. But that wasp, because I didn't even, that hurt. It itched. It ached for about a week. I was shocked. I'm not allergic or anything, but don't get stung by a red wasp. That's all I gotta say. It's not fun. Okay, so I have smoothed up the edge, and I have cut out the legs of my antelope, and he is going to go here. So he will be about like that. The piece of wrapping paper is going to go something like that. The Chinese lantern will go up here. So this is going to move over a little bit more because I don't want it to run into the flower. And I want that to be right on the edge, and I would like for that, I'll finish that little hanging thing off if it doesn't quite get up to the top up there with a little bit of, so let's get these down first before I do anything else. I'm going to move him over as far as I can. Okay, so let's get these guys down. Let me, before I do that, I like to make so I don't waste glue on something that doesn't need to be glued. So let's just make a little, pull him down some. Let's just make a little line here. Can you see what I'm doing? His back leg's gonna get cut off, but that's okay. It happens, especially when it's in the round. That's the one thing is hard, is when it's a round thing like this, you lose some of the things you wish you wouldn't lose, that you wouldn't lose if it was a rectangle, even the same size. like this is a 4-inch diameter circle. If it was a 4-inch square, you wouldn't lose as much of your images as you do with a circle. So that is sometimes hard to deal with for me. It's disheartening sometimes when I don't, like, I really would rather not have lost this antelope's leg right here. But it cannot be helped. It is what it is, and it can't be helped. So we just go with it. I'll cut this off. There we go. Simple enough. Yeah, cut off more of his leg than I'd like to have, but I'm not gonna fuss over it. It's gonna look fine. There we go. Let's make sure I got that little bit glued down. I don't think I did that good right there. I didn't. So let's get that little bit. So that's my story for today. Don't get stung by a bee or a yellow jacket. That also hurt, but it didn't hurt as bad. Again, I felt it, and then I shook my shoe off, and he went away before I think he got me too stung. The yellow jacket did. At least I think it was a yellow jacket. I really don't know. I didn't see it, but I'm guessing that that's what it was. Seemed like that's what it was. Okay. So we're going, oh, and I hope I have room for my, let me go ahead and, I can't seem to get this, the shape that needs to be right here. There, that's better. Okay, let's put this guy down next. No, let's put this down next because I know where exactly this needs to go. So like I said, I wanted a lantern that was from the forest, or like a camping lantern, but I could not find one. I tried drawing one. I didn't like it. And I didn't feel like going and printing one because I really hate to do that because you print it on a big sheet of paper and you've wasted a piece of paper. Although I don't usually print those kinds of things on on good paper, on the best paper. Okay, so we're going to put that like that, just like that. So we have a Chinese lantern. We have Chinese lantern in the forest, I guess. Okay, that's that. This one was so random. Some of these things are so random. Well, all of them. I'm having a really hard time with the randomness of some of these. But, we do what we can. Try to make them cohesive in some way or another. I like for them to go together, so this one is a little out of the ordinary for it. But it is just a collage, so there you go. It's a little bit surreal now that there's a Chinese lantern in the forest, because I'm sure that's where I'd find this guy, or maybe on the prairie. I don't really know. I didn't read about him, so I don't really know. He may be on the prairie. Anyway, so that is that. Now, I am going to cut some of these out. And I just want to use the words "a trail" here and "was so close" here. So it did say "a trail laid out in front." Could have used that, but then I decided I would use this, "a trail was so close." I need to ink that. And so that means that this antelope must have veered off the trail And that's how he ran into this Chinese lantern out in the middle of nowhere. And so something you might leave behind is, I think this antelope left the trail behind because he wandered off the trail, so he left the trail behind. So we might do the same if we're on a hike. We might leave the trail behind and go off somewhere else. So that is my something left behind, is the imaginary trail that this antelope would be on. And that is my collage for this week. So, thank you all for coming. Again, I appreciate it so very much. All of your comments. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, just like that. And that's my italicized words. Italicized, what do I call it? Text. This is my italicized text in large print. I didn't think about it. I would have made it a little bit smaller, possibly, but I have it on this book on my iPad, and so I make the print a little bit larger because it's easier to read. Oh, she was so close is what it used to say, and I don't want the was on, the she on there, so let's cut that off. I didn't see that, so anyway. So again, if you like this video, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell if you haven't already. If you'd like to see further videos from me. And I appreciate you coming. And those who have been with me, hanging out with me week after week, thank you for coming back. Thank you for watching. Comment if you'd like. I always like to see comments. Even if it's just a heart or a thumbs up or a whatever. I will always respond. There. Okay, so let's go over everything. And this is week 35, which is, hashtag hashtag 2025 CWP 35. So we are moving right along. Okay, let's go over everything. Make sure we got it all. I'll use my knife as pointer. Okay, an old ledger or old receipt or ledger, and there is a ledger in the background. An animal with hooves is this pronghorn, they called it, or otherwise known as an antelope. A piece of wrapping paper or patterned paper. I have a piece of wrapping paper, is this pansy right here. Cut that from a piece of wrapping paper. Something you might leave behind. I'm going to say you might leave a trail behind. If you were in the woods and left the trail, then you would be leaving the trail behind. And then the italicized text is, a trail was so close. So that is my collage for this week. Like I said, the Chinese lantern is a little off kilter, but I couldn't find the right kind of lantern. I wanted although that still would be odd for a lantern to just be hanging somewhere in wherever this antelope is. But, you know, it's a collage. So I need to ink around it. Let me know what you think about this one. Do you like the rounds? 4-inch round coasters from a restaurant. That's what I'm using. And also the other OCD thing I do is I have to have this also. So when you turn it over, it is not crooked like this. That would just be wrong. So there we are. Week 35 of the Margarete Miller Collage Challenge. Thank you so much for coming, like I said, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.